That November, God sent snow to North Italy to the inconvenience of all who had to travel on horseback. The way between Porretta and Bologna became choked, and only the robust cared to use it. Among these was the friar, Ludovico de Severi da Bologna, who set out from Porretta one evening in a mood of ferocious good humour. The snow had brought him good luck. He had located the souls he was looking for. The silly woman was there in Porretta and about to ride north in the morning. The man, bless his heart, was on that identical road coming southwards, but storm stayed in the hamlet of Sila. The two were certain to meet. The friar couldn't see how, happily, they could avoid one another. The woman, for a woman, was redoubtable. The man was a cheeky young profligate, and Carlotta would eat him for supper. Through the white gloom of dusk, Fra Ludovico plodded on muleback to Sila, producing psalms from the caves in his chest, so that clods fell from the trees and the tracks of hares melted the snowfields. He arrived late at Sila's one tavern, stabled his mule and his serving man, and was granted a mattress to sleep on. Rising early next morning, he took the squelched track to the latrines, broke the ice in the tub, and obtained punctual news of his quarry. "He's in there," volunteered one of the travellers, "big as a gallows tree, and the age of my grandson. Niccolo, he answers to." "That's a him," said Ludovico da Bologna. "Used to be an apprentice called Atleast. Where's the common room?" Unaware of this conversation, Nicholas Vonderpuller idled in an inadequate seat by a window, keeping himself to himself and resenting many things, but most of all the fact that he was sober. The storm of snow had packed the hostelry with many travellers. In the roaring hell of the common room, he could make out 5 different languages. There was a group of seraphic blonde courtiers from Poland, freshly blessed and addressed by Pope Pius. There were established merchants from Milan and Ferrara, Adriatic agents and runners with business in Pisa or Florence or Rome. Representing Bologna was a noisy south-riding squadron of its first citizens' cavalry, led by an unshaven captain who had quickly drunk himself torpid. Nicholas emptied his parsimonious jug into his niggardly cup and sat staring at it. Being virtually alone, he could do as he pleased. The 2 muleteer guides and a houseman had been hired in Venice by Thomas, his only companion. Thomas had dropped into silence some days ago. The massive cargo he, Nicholas, had brought from the east had long since been dispersed, along with the men from his voyage. He himself, delayed by affairs, was on his way to the place where his wife had died. It was the first time since he had had news of her death that he had had time to fill. He found he disliked the journey and dreaded the end of it. For this excursion he needed no bodyguard. The brigands who preyed on rich merchants were unlikely to connect him, as yet, with the Niccolo who had emerged with a fortune from the ruins of Trebizond. Or, if they knew so much about him, they would know that his wife, the head of his company, had died in his absence, leaving her business elsewhere. Leaving him, at the age of nearly 21 years, embarked on a pointless journey to Burgundy. And then another one to the dye works in Bruges, where he had married her. There was no hurry, since the journey was pointless, to leave the tavern when the snow persisted through the night and into the following morning. He sat, the empty jug at his elbow, throwing dice against himself as the wind threw grey, thrumming smuts against the yellow horn window. The young woman who had wished to get into his bed came again and then went, and 2 of the archers from the Bentivoglio troop invited him to join in their gaming. One of them had tried to get into his bed as well. They went away. Nicholas threw his dice steadily. Thomas came to his side and peered through his window. Thomas said, "There's that monk again."